These guys are one of my favorite fish of all time. Someday I will have some. Oh, look at that mug. They're so cool. But so in the video I just showed you guys on the Kenilworth Gardens, so one of the things that I said in that video was that I don't think lotuses are particularly well suited to the average patio pond person, and I have to eat my words because Christine has quite a few varieties. So these are all super, super suitable for keeping just like she is. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're going on a field trip down to Gaithersburg, Maryland to visit a good friend of mine named Christine Keys. Now, I've known Christine for many years now from our fellow club, the Capital Cichlid Association. You may be familiar with that organization because of the big fish deal. And today we're going to go check out her fish room. You see, Christine has a lot of tanks, but more importantly, she has done all the DIY and has a really incredible setup, including geothermal and some really, really cool features. It's actually my dream fish room. So we're going to go take a look. She also does a lot of summer tubbing, and they have some gardening interests, so we're going to make it an interesting adventure. Let's get started. So guys, as I mentioned, we're here to visit my good friend Christine Keys down in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and Christine has a lot of things for us to look at today, one of which is this extremely impressive and high-tech fish room. Another is a collection of backyard tubs and patio ponds, and she also has a really, really cool native pollinator, well, yard really, but we'll call it a garden, that I really think you guys will appreciate. So first I wanted to just sort of show you around. It's absolutely impossible to actually capture the scale and scape of this room because the doorway's just not big enough and you can't get far enough back. But she has quite a few rows and sections in this fish room, chock full of really incredible fish, predominantly cichlids, but as well as many other things. And she also has a really neat little plant bathroom that I want to emulate. So we're going to have Christine take us around, tell us a little bit about a lot of the DIY she did to this as it's fully automated, and then look at some fish. So one of the things that Christine made a priority with her fish room, and I wish that I would have done with my own fish room, is really streamlining the maintenance and water changes of her aquariums. And she utilizes a few different systems, and I want to have her tell us about them now. Welcome, Christine.
Hey, thanks for coming to the fish room.
Yep. So these are...
So this is one of the ways that I filter my tanks. If they're a little bit too big for, say, a traditional matin filter, or I just want to add a little bit more filtration because I've got like big poopy fish or things like that in there. So these are the few tanks where I actually have a pump. I have a power head or a pump that brings the water up. Right, it flows in. I've got filter fluff I can take out and change daily, weekly, whatever I need. But basically it flows through this box. I've seen people use, 5-gallon buckets on top of their tanks. You can use sweater boxes, you can use shoe boxes, you can use whatever you want. It flows through here. I put my scraps of porette in here that are left over from making my matin filters. It flows through and it goes back into the tank, and so it just circulates like that.
And how do you drain them?
So most of my tanks are plumbed to drain them, and the way it works, I do have to reach into the tank.
Oh, that's clever.
But I just have a system.
That way you can set the level.
I can absolutely set the level. Some of them I can even get them to drain even below if I can get a good siphon started. Total props to Larry Jenks for this one. So I know. He's the one who taught me this one. He uses that in his fish room. And then
that is really smart.
When I'm done, I just put them back upright and refill the tanks. And so they flow out the back.
Oh, that's right. Your wastewater goes out into your yard, correct?
It does. So a look back there.
This corrugated tube goes to feed one of her water gardens that we'll look at in a little bit. Another thing that I'd really like to do is not waste all these delightful nutrients.
Now you said there were 2 systems that you used for filtration.
Yeah, so the rest of my tanks, if you go down a little further here, we can just look at one of these tanks.
With the PVC?
Well, the water comes out the same way, but these are all done on Matten filters.
Okay. Where are the... Oh, I see. I didn't even notice them.
Yeah, they're actually...
Corner Matten filters, corner half moons.
Corner Matten filters.
I love those too.
I love them, yeah. And these the water comes out the same way. I have the little elbow that bends down.
Oh, I heard that one start the siphon.
I know. So they go down out the back of the tanks. I've got PVC that takes them down, and then periodically throughout the fish room, I have underneath the tanks these, I'm just using regular 20-gallon fish tanks. I bought a bunch of them used. They were super scuzzy, but they don't need to be sexy down there.
Right, yeah.
That's wastewater. I don't have floor drains in this fish room, so when we were shopping for houses, that's one of the things that I gave up. We found the perfect
compromise.
house. Yep, compromise. No floor drains. So in these, I actually have a sump pump. So when the tank is full, the sump pump kicks on, it pumps it back up and out.
Very cool. Ooh, look at this pleco.
Yeah, if you want to look behind. I know, isn't he awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything kind of drains into there. Sort of a funky mess.
It's a great, I mean, no, it's a very clever idea.
So my goal was I didn't want to lug buckets anymore. I want to minimize dragging the hoses around. Most of the tanks also have return water that runs to them, and so you can see here on these tanks I ran it under here. So when it's time to fill it up, I turn on the water in the other room, and then I can turn it on with these valves in each tank.
That's great. And I like too that it keeps everything on an individual filtration system. Yet still, that's been my biggest worry about automating my fish room is the potential for cross-contamination in any way. And this system is really ingenious.
Right.
And I like that everything is relatively hidden behind, underneath, or on top of the aquarium. So it's very, very simple.
It is. Yep. So.
Can we see your closet of goodness?
Absolutely. Let's take a look.
So another thing that Christine did was have geothermal installed, which is kind of epic.
Yeah, so there's the closet of craziness, and I have my 300-gallon reservoir for my RO water now.
Again, I can't get back far enough. This is an RO reservoir. How many of the aquariums do you utilize the RO for?
You know, it's funny, we've had so much rain that our tap water's been soft enough that I haven't been using it this year.
Was it mainly for your Westies?
It's mostly for my Westies. I have a couple of Pistos that would like it. And so what I did in there is I have a sump pump in the bottom of that barrel. I can turn it on and that'll run around the room. And for example...
So that's what these ports are for? Okay.
Yeah, these are my RO, and I've got it so that I can just, you know, wander around with them, but they're not hoses on the floor. I don't trip on them as well.
Right. So as we mentioned, contamination and things like that are always an issue. What sort of preventative measures do you take for that with equipment like that?
As far as parasites
or just to sterilization protocol?
I don't. You know, if I have a tank that I suspect is harboring a disease, I will do water changes on that one separately. I will do them on a day that I'm not doing water changes, so that's the only tank I touch because I think I'm actually probably the common denominator, sticking my arms in the tanks.
I think a lot of people don't realize that it's most often you.
It's most often you. So I will do water changes either, that'll be the last one I do of the day, so that I don't put my hands in any other tank.
Right.
I will, you know, allowing things to dry, nets and everything drying is my favorite thing.
I like peroxide too.
Peroxide will work, 10% bleach if you must. Yeah.
Well, awesome. So in the fish room right now, do you have anything that you think are super, super, super exciting for your inner geek?
My inner geek is actually geeked about my plecos right now.
I was just looking at them.
Yeah, and you can kind of see them sometimes from the bottom. But yeah, I've been absolutely loving them.
They're gorgeous. That color is stunning.
Love them.
They're picoltias? No?
Those
Or
are the L200.
oh, the hemiancestors.
Yes. I do have a blue in there. I've got a couple different things in there, but yeah.
They're beautiful. What are these? These are,
Nomalochromis thomasi.
they're really attractive too.
Yeah, I love them. They're not spawning in here, so I think I need to move them. And so I do that a lot in the fish room is we just try different things. You know, something, I think probably the plecos are messing up their mojo. Maybe there's too much water flow, so I'm going to move them. I gave them a chance.
No, they look good.
They do, and they will fire up into spawning colors. But I've had no spawns yet.
Awesome. Do you have any other neat gadgety sorts of things that you'd like to show us down here?
Probably do, I'm sure.
I want to show your fry rack.
Yeah, the fry rack.
I mean, you have multiple fry racks, but
I do, but I find that I have to keep my fry at eye level so that I don't forget to feed them, and I can monitor them really closely. So
look at all of them. See, this is an area that I really need to improve. Cooling fry.
y'all do. I have people that come here all the time and they're
look
like,
at the
hey, did
tumbler.
you know your fish is holding? I'm like, yeah.
Look at that, the eggs in the tumbler. What's in there?
Those are more of these. These are the, blanking on the name.
So another thing that I really, really, really like about Christine's fish room and her methodology is that every aquarium, and you'll see when we go out into the yard as well, all of her tubs are labeled with what's in them. And you know, it's really easy when you're maintaining a lot of aquariums or have a lot of fish or even just a lot of projects, or hell, sometimes I can't even remember my kids' names. To have labels like this and to keep really good detailed notes about what you're doing, what worked, when things spawned, you know, all those sorts of things. Oh God, I love those guys. You have so many cool fish. That guy. I am such a sucker for those. That just grumpy face.
I know, I love it. Those are probably the easiest of those altos to spawn. Those are the Lefubus. I've spawned them before, and I actually lost them in the move. And then somebody else in the club had been spawning them, so these are offspring of my original pair that I got back.
What a nice story.
I know, and now they're spawning again, so I was, you know, I really miss them. I pulled fry last night, actually, the Trepcephalus down there. This basket is actually full of fry. Love that. These guys are good.
Man, they are so pretty.
Yeah.
Do you have a ride or die fish that you always maintain, no matter what?
I do. And oddly enough, it's actually the manganos up here.
They are beautiful.
They are the first ones I got. I love them. I threatened to get rid of them so I can put something else in here so many times, and I can't. I keep putting the juvies back in. And I love them because they can hold their own against really, really aggressive other African cichlids, but they're sort of my peacekeepers. They'll get in the middle of the fights, like, hey, what are you doing? And they'll just end up breaking it up. So they're active. They don't start trouble, but they will break it up. I love it.
I love their lips.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And they're just a blue that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's a really nice, like I want to paint the doors on my house that color blue.
Yes.
For lack of a better descriptor.
Yes.
What do you think it is about cichlids that really grabbed you?
You know, they've got personality. And there are so many of them. Each one's a different puzzle, so you've got to figure them out sometimes. You know, having a tank full of Malawi and Muna cichlids is wonderfully satisfying, and it's really different than keeping a West African cichlid. And it's really different sometimes than keeping a South American cichlid. So each one's kind of presents its own challenge. And I like them all, so I've got all different kinds in here.
I really enjoy too all the different strategies that they use for parenting and breeding.
Yes.
What is that guy doing?
I don't know.
What a goofball. Doesn't he know those are for the synodontists?
Exactly. Come on, guys.
What a goof.
He probably got himself in there and he can't get himself out now.
That's funny.
Oh,
see, then the synodontists
yeah,
are...
the synodontists are great. Yeah, I do love my catfish as well.
You can't be a good you can't be a good cat or cichlid keeper without being a catfish hoarder too.
That's true.
Yours are so outgoing. Mine are really elusive.
They are elusive. There are probably about 20 in here.
So when I need to do my species spotlight, I'll come visit you.
Sounds good.
Because at least I can get footage of yours. Yes. Are those the Lucipinas? Yes.
Yes.
Sweet. Oh, I didn't even notice these guys.
And
See?
I've got multipunctatus up there too.
I like Marlarai.
The lights aren't even on.
Well, it doesn't matter. Wow, what are those?
So those are Venetochromous nigrodorsalis. They're a Westie. They're a biparental mouthbird.
They are sexy AF.
They really are, and I had a pair that spawned like crazy, and so those are the grow outs actually from them. So.
I love that dorsal.
Right, and they get that pink belly on them.
Yeah, that one's all fired up.
Yep.
They're gorgeous.
And I do sometimes mix continents. Like this is I've got some very angry cichlids in here that hide in the rocks. And I have one Salve and I left, unfortunately, which is a very common thing. And so he was beating everybody else up, so I threw him in here. And it seems to actually be about...
Oh, he's pretty.
He's gorgeous. Seems to be a good match for the Congolensis.
They're really pretty too.
Yeah.
I like the subtle colorations of these guys.
Yes. The Coptodon are the ones I'm totally digging right now. So
with the black throat?
The black throat and the reddish eyes, yeah.
Oh, wow. He's a stunner.
Yeah, that's a Cameroonian cichlid.
What is their breeding strategy?
Substrate spawners.
That's what they look like with that mouth.
Yeah.
I think it's another thing that I think is really interesting about cichlids is you can get a lot of visual cues about what they need, how they eat, and how they breed just from looking at their face. These guys are pretty too.
They are gorgeous.
See, it's always fun for me to come to your fish room because I don't know what half the fish are. When, in general, when I go places, I always know what the fish are. Look at your big brain.
I know, isn't it great?
I guess it would help if I was looking at fish. What is that guy?
That is an Archocentrus centrarchus.
Do they have a common name?
Sometimes they're called a flyer cichlid.
They're really cool.
They are, and that's one that I haven't unlocked the spawning on yet. But
they certainly look like they're in condition.
Right. I wonder though if I lost all the females. But I've had them for a long time. But I also think that the mojo in this tank isn't right for them. I think it's a little too busy.
What rotation of foods do you feed down here?
A little of everything. I try to go with the good stuff, although I'm not above, feeding them samples that I get. But it's usually a bit of North Fin, a bit of NLS. What have I been feeding lately? Tropical. I got a bunch of tropical. I do buy by the bucket if I can. So.
Do you feed much frozen or live?
I actually don't. I'm too lazy for that. I like the live cultures for the sake of the live culture because it's fun growing it, but then I always forget to feed the live culture to the fish.
I have that issue too.
So micro worms are the ones that I've done best with, but yeah, frozen, I don't. I'm one of the common people that's allergic to bloodworms, so I'm not.
Lucky you, right?
Yeah, I don't like, you know, leaving myself allergy traps in the fish room, so I avoid those.
I just do a lot of Daphne at this time of year.
Daphne is fantastic.
Oh, do we have Shelleys?
Well, of course we have Shelleys. We've got the multis are there and the Similis are there.
Really makes it hit home how much bigger the Similis are.
It does. So with these fish, since they're so similar, I make sure to actually like physically keep them in separate racks so that I never confuse them. They do look different, but I just don't want to.
Yeah, the Similis, the bars go the whole way up their face.
They go the whole way up their face, but when they're young,
it's hard to tell.
It's really hard to tell, so I just don't want to mix up fry.
These guys are pretty too.
Yeah, those guys are growing out. They're going to get big.
How big?
They're going to be about the same size as the Trevistopolis in the 100 that was over on the other side of the room. Those are Sex Fasciatus. So they'll get 5 or 6 inches.
Do they keep that coloration?
They will. Yes, they will. I did get to go to somebody's fish room and I saw some adults and they were amazingly golden.
They are sexy,
right? So I think they're right at the size where I need to start moving them into a different tank. Otherwise, we're going to have mayhem in that one.
Is there a dimorphism in the barring from male to female?
Not really. Females will be smaller. They'll be probably a little paler, but I don't know. I'm going to guess that's probably one of the males, but
yeah, it's got more color to the edges of the fins too. And these are the Similis. Do you have any? Do you just have the 2 species of Shelleys?
I do have some golden Aussies down in another tank. They're kind of meh.
Aussies can be kind of ass-hatty too.
They can be very ass-hatty and very bitey.
Ooh, that's pretty. Look at the iridescence. Man, fish are so cool.
They are.
Oh, and there's one in the cave there too.
Yeah, that's one of the juvies I'm hoping is gonna pair up with mom.
Oh, look at all these.
Yep.
That's bonkers.
That's a Westie. Love my Westies.
Start spawning and they never stop.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they shouldn't be doing very well in a 20 long. It's because it's a fairly large Westie and they usually need bigger territories than that. But they were in quarantine and I kind of quarantine in place. I find an empty tank in my fish room and then they go in there for a while and I get to forget about them. And then they started spawning.
Huh.
So I haven't wanted to mess them up.
Clearly they did not read the memo.
No. Fish usually don't.
I like all the little glass things and everything.
Oh, for the plants?
Yeah.
Well, that's totally, I took that out of your book. I saw that in your fish room, and I was like, this is brilliant.
It works.
It does, because I've been trying to reduce the depth of the substrate bed in my
But they're
tanks.
hard to maintain, especially when you have this many. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah, and I didn't want the gravel getting too funky. I needed it to be easy to clean. So, yeah. If I go to the thrift store and I find all these fancy pants containers.
Oh, I love them so much. These guys are one of my favorite fish of all time. Someday I will have some. Oh, look at that mug. They're so cool.
The peacock, the male peacock is like, what? I want to be in front.
Well, you're very pretty too, male peacock. But I'm focusing around you on this dude because he's the sexiest beast in the tank.
And those peacocks are a Care species.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's another thing. Christine works with a lot of Care species. And if you're unfamiliar, Cares are species that are either on the brink of extinction or at risk or critically threatened in the wild. And there is a database of species available that you can look at to see if you want to work with some of those. Now, unfortunately, that database is not particularly all-encompassing. It's great for cichlids. It's pretty good for catfish, but it absolutely sucks for all the stuff I work with. Almost everything nano should be on the Cares list because of habitat destruction. but it is really awesome for figuring out what cichlids need our help. There's a lot of issues from unethical collection, overfishing, and just, you know, absolute habitat destruction going on. And it's always nice to work with some species that need help. God, they're so sexy. Oof. Oh, hello, little guys. I wasn't expecting to see you here.
This is one of the few actual like line bred color form fish in my fish room. I have a few, but I really love these.
Yeah, it was like a surpriser because usually you work with so many natural types, we'll call them.
I usually think the natural color form is the prettiest, especially like discus. I don't keep discus, but I love the wild type discus. Those are my favorite. Same with angels. The wild stripy angel is my favorite, but these guys were just so gorgeous. I had to have them.
This guy's sexy.
Well, that's the wild one.
I know.
I know. I have it too. So
I immediately gravitate to those subtleties over the like smack you in the face pretty. But I am a sucker for yellow and orange.
yeah.
So I can absolutely see the appeal of these guys. More grumpy gusses.
I do like those.
I need to get some.
Is she still in her?
She was in that flattened cave, the Calvis cave.
Yeah, she's got. I saw eggs in there yesterday.
So you guys have probably noticed there's all sorts of different containers and shaped pleco caves and other caves and pots and everything in order for Christine to get her fish to spawn. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice this rack over here.
Oh, and there's a whole other back.
Yeah, I know there's a back section. That's where your Shelleys used to be.
Used to be, yeah. Things move around. Yeah, and on these tanks, like you said, I'll have a lot of different things in there, and that's part of it is I don't know what they're going to like, and they don't always read the books.
I was just going to say, fish do not read the books.
Read the books, so I offer them usually something to breed in, something to breed on, something to
hide in.
Right. You know, and I try to make sure that there are enough hiding places that there isn't as much competition. These are also one of my bucket list fish, and they finally bred.
What are the?
These are
Hemianthropus
skinny too.
I like the orange on the dorsal.
Right, and there's one of the adults.
Oh, and
very shy, but he's in the pot.
The babies are cock blocking my view here.
I know.
So tell me the tank sizes you have going on here, because it seems pretty.
Yeah, so when I set this fish room up, my previous fish room, I had a lot of really random sized tanks, so I tried to standardize it, right, and think about how things can fit over under. So these are 40 breeders, which have the same footprint as these 65s.
Okay.
So that, you know, so I really like the 65s.
They look nice together.
Right, so they could stay because they have the same footprint. These I do 20 longs with a 29. 20 longs and 33 longs.
I love the 33s.
I love 33s. That's one of my favorite tanks.
I don't have any, and I need a lot of them, I think.
I think if I had to pick, if I was limited to sizes, I would find a way to fit in 20 longs, 15s, and 33s.
I like 15s as well.
Yeah, I use a lot of them. These are 75, so these were the last of Discus Hans's tanks out of his basement.
That's kind of cool.
It is. I know, I should have gotten him to sign the rack.
You should have.
I know. So, but these, when I bought them, these were some of the biggest tanks I owned, and I really wasn't sure.
Remember when they seemed huge?
They seemed huge.
Are these 75s up top too?
Yep.
I wasn't sure if they were 75s or 90s.
Nope, 75s. I've got 40 breeders underneath. That's actually a really weird size 100. That's my only 6-foot tank. And honestly, I have a hard time keeping it, maintaining it really well. I do better with the smaller tanks.
The 4-foots.
Yeah. These are all 15s in here. This used to be a kitchen, and so the stove used to be here, and the fridge used to be there, and that's just become more space for fish tanks.
But check out more of Christine's organization. All of her things to run the fish room are neatly labeled and organized.
Oh, and my favorites? The other thing I love.
Oh, yes.
All of my spare parts.
That is so smart.
Well, and I love it because these are mesh, so you know I'm going to reach in here with wet hands.
Yeah, and it won't get all gross.
So it'll dry at least. And I've got them on the backs of all these doors.
Little did you know, fish keepers have a small plumbing supply store as well.
You have to, especially because if anything, you've got to.
So every time you think you've found the end of the fish room, there's another nook or cranny with more fish. So for the most part, you pool fry rather than letting them rear, correct?
I try it both ways. I have found with my Triticefalus, I don't do both pulling the fry. I leave them in there, and then I actually siphon them into a fry basket and leave them in the tank with the parents.
So it sort of depends on what works, but
Yeah.
that's why you maintain all these racks of 15s and stuff though, right?
They do grow out really well. Or if I buy a group of Judies at an auction, it's fine. I can put them in a 15 for a while and grow them out.
Mmm.
These guys I also love.
I was looking to see what was in there.
These are Lophiobaggers cyclurus. They're a Tanganyikan catfish. And they have just got the sexiest whiskers. I love them.
Oh, they do. They got little neck beards.
They do.
I love catfish. They're like, why are you bothering me?
I know. They're like, it's dark.
What variety are these?
So those are some Melanochromis auratus. They're in quarantine and they're going to go join the rest. And then I also have some more catfish in here.
Yeah, I saw the...
Synodontus, I think is it a Shopnai or something?
I don't know.
Yeah. So.
The branchy whiskers.
Right?
They're cool. Well, we are making everybody very unhappy by disrupting them over here.
Well, we're kind of like voyeurs, shining the light in. So another thing I have in my fish room, you'll see these little sensors around. So I've got
water sensors.
I've got them set up so that if I get a leak, and I place them where I tend to have drips or leaks, my phone gets called.
That is so smart.
Learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, I just got my first water sensor recently after that tank burst. Because if I would have had some sort of clue that it was draining, I could have saved all the fish.
Yep.
And I have to say, in my 15 years of keeping so many aquariums, that is my first failure. It just happened to be full of fish that I've always wanted. So this is something I'm considering doing down in a room in my basement that you guys have never seen, because I keep it hidden because I'm a horrible hoarder. But these are all kinds of crazy cool, I guess you could call them tropical plants, house plants. Look at that. What are those red and blue ones?
It's called a lipstick vine.
That is freaking insane.
Yeah.
And you can see there's orchids everywhere and all sorts of neat stuff.
And that's the Streptocarpus behind.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That is gorgeous. And then of course up here we have Nepenthes and sundews and a bunch of carnivorous stuff. And even in her houseplants, Christine has a mad scientist slant going here with what she called an ebb and flow system. And how you described it was that the tray will flood. There's a port so that it can't overflow, and then it drains back, and that maintains the hydration for the plants without overwatering. It's really pretty genius, and it looks like it wouldn't be that hard to set up.
If you have a fish tank, you probably already have the parts.
Yeah, you need a pump, some bulkhead, like strainers, and some valves. So I hate to break it to you, dear, if you're watching this, but this is in our future. So one of the really cool things that Christine is interested in is utilizing native plants both in her yard to support the pollinators as well as in her tubs. And there's a bunch of really, really cool specimens. And I'm not going to torture her by making her show us every single tub, because I think she might even have more than I do. But smaller sizes. Smaller. You know, but they're really, really cool. So we'll take a look at those and ask her to show us some of her favorite plants, because I mean, I'm sure everyone is aware of the issues of invasive plants, and I think one of the areas that's not policed very much is aquatics, really.
Aquatics spread very easily.
So Christine has these series of bins down here in her, we'll call it the lower yard, or the below the deck, where there's some really incredible taros. which you guys know I'm a sucker for. And then what was this purple dude over here? What's that one? Can't even see what I'm doing.
That one I'm blanking on the name. That is not a native. But
That's not a native?
But I do overwinter it every year. In fact, you can almost treat it like a house plant.
I like the red stem.
Yeah, I do too. That one's pretty well behaved, and so I just take cuttings in the fall and start them fresh.
This is one of the natives that you said.
That is one of my favorite natives. It's called a duck potato. It is bulletproof. It is so hardy. It's just great, and it's always a happy plant.
When it has a nice height, it has a great color. It's nice and bright. I really like that too.
Yeah, and in the fall, it'll die back, and it'll leave these little nutlets, the little duck potatoes behind, and that's what's going to make your plant for next year. So don't throw those away.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. And then of course, Christine has bog and bog planters. Now this is something that I want to build soon to show you guys, is these more like standalone carnivorous planters, if you will. How do you make sure you're maintaining the water in that?
So on these, I've actually got them lined. There are drain holes in the bottom, but I have a liner in there that extends most of the way up.
And then that way it can seep out around it.
It can seep out around it, but it keeps a good moist, wet area in the bottom.
That's the same thing I did with my concrete sink.
Yep.
I just lined it most of the way up.
Exactly. And I'm so excited. I actually have a whole bunch of little babies.
Oh, look at them!
the
Binky,
little
binky,
seedlings.
binky, binky, binks.
I love them.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
is that from seed, I guess?
It's from seed. I think one of the flowers just sort of flopped over and sat there.
Well, what I think is really cool about the carnivorous plant flowers is, you know, when they erupt, they hang over, and then once the seeds dry, they flip up and disperse, and it's really pretty fascinating, I think. But again, I'm a geek.
Well, apparently they're very successful.
And you said that this particular bog or bin is all rainwater.
Right, so I have the gutter that drains down in here. The tubing is out because I'm just sort of trying it out. I'll probably bury it and make it a little bit more elegant at some point in the future. But yeah, this is rainwater, and then it just overflows into the lawn. And then this is where my Fishroom water goes right now. I'm kind of testing to see which of the native plants and the rushes and the sedges do really well, and then whoever does well, I'll just put more of that in here. So,
are you gonna fill it with soil or keep them in pots?
I'm not entirely sure yet. I may actually do pea gravel in the whole thing, but I'll have to see what's gonna overwinter the best. I figure these I can also, you know, just cover with burlap in the fall, kind of drain them down a little, and then leave them for the winter. That way I don't have to pull everything back into the garage.
I know that's a struggle.
It is. The struggle is real.
So there's also a vegetable garden that Christine's husband, Bruce, is super into. And all sorts of really neat, like, little metal sculptures everywhere. These look so good. And then a little fern garden. I gotta show you guys some of the cool ferns. Because yes. Now when I first started coming here, Christine hadn't done pretty much any, ouch, that was sharp. Hadn't done any of this landscaping and stuff, and it has just been so cool to watch it develop. This, you said, is the sensitive fern?
That's a sensitive fern. That's a native. It does really well. It's bossy enough to fill in without being too bossy. I have to admit I have a non-native.
We won't look at that, Lily.
I do have a mix of natives and non-natives, but
we won't judge you. We'll just enjoy. But then, so as you can see, just lots and lots and lots of excellent foliage for pollinators, and it's so fun to see, like, how much, as a bug just flew in my ear, how much is around, and that can be achieved. I mean, how much acreage do you guys have?
We're front and yard together is a little less than half an acre.
So in less than half an acre, she's been able to create this oasis for all the pollinators, and also have all these water gardens. And one of my favorite features of Christine's place is this big covered porch that is fully ringed with patio ponds. Oh my God, my feet are on fire. Oh. So just like in the fish room, Christine's doing this really cool thing that I'm probably gonna copy. And that's having these little signs made to be able to mark all her various lily and lotus species. because once they die back in the winter, it's almost impossible to tell what they are. And I think one of the biggest struggles I've had is I've used all sorts of markers, all sorts of tags, and no matter what, it always wears off, and then I have no idea what I've got, and it's really unfortunate.
And even these are experimental. I'll give them a couple years before I do them widely, because I don't know. We'll see.
And you said this white plant was native, correct?
Yep, water parsnip.
Water parsnip. I love that. But so in the video I just showed you guys on the Kenilworth Gardens, which actually technically hasn't come out yet when I'm filming this, I talked to you a bit about the difference between lotus and lilies and how you can tell, and these are really great examples of that. You can see that the leaf has no cleft, and that the flower is obviously way out of the water, and that the seed pod is its own entity. Whereas with water lilies, they behave very differently in their seed production. But this is a similar variety to what I saw down there. Except for, is this a double?
I don't know. This is it was an unnamed variety that I got at one of the club's auctions.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, this is a full-size lotus, but you can still keep them in tubs. You just have to really divide them heavily.
So one of the things that I said in that video was that I don't think lotuses are particularly well suited to the average patio pond person, and I have to eat my words because Christine has quite a few varieties. Now this is a water lily variety. Again, you can tell because it has the cleft in that little leaf structure. More water lilies, and then more dwarf lotuses. So these are all super, super suitable for keeping just like she is. And it makes me want to go on a great search for more species because these are really sexy. And I just absolutely love that like erupted leaf structure, as well as the flowers. But I think there's got to be something really, really rewarding with working with these and having that flower be so long lasting. I think one of the things that's kind of sucky about the water lilies is you get that flower for 3 days and then it falls under. Now granted, there's usually another one shortly after.
Yeah, and the lotus flowers do go through phases. Like they start out real tight, like the one over there, and we'll have that for a day or two. Then they'll open a little more, and then they'll flop wide open. I find that the flower, it just makes me really happy. I find it very photogenic and it's beautiful.
And these are considered, well, I guess they're all zone 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
If you have an outdoor pond, you can just drop these to the bottom. Lotuses can be really bossy in a pond, and so you'll want to pull those tubs and share the wealth with your friends and repot them up because they will spread, they will take over.
Yes. Well, lilies too, for that matter.
Lilies
That's why
too.
it's recommended to put them in pots, not just throw them into substrate.
Yeah.
You can get an aerial view of what Christine's working on down there with her lower level. It's really freaking cool.
One of the best things I found for lotuses too is I actually use round oil pans actually for the pots because they don't have holes in them. They're round, so the roots will go around and around for a little while, and they're much cheaper than aquatic plant pots.
Yeah, I use a lot of that stuff. I've also used the drip trays for hot water heaters.
Yes,
because you can plumb them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know.
I love those.
But yeah. And you can see there's a bunch of the Lowe's resin whiskey barrels.
Oh yeah.
They're the best. They go on sale every spring for $11.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this truly incredible fish room, as well as all Christine's tubs and water gardens and her beautiful yard. I wanted to give a great big thank you to both Christine Keys and her husband Bruce for their hospitality when I came to visit. I really encourage you guys to visit fish rooms when you have the opportunity, because it's a great way to see fish that you're not keeping, see fish breeding, and really just pick up little tips and tricks that we all have that we don't even realize are unique. Christine was an incredible host, and I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you'd like to see more of this, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to tag me on your posts of your fish room and gardening adventures on Instagram. And make sure you are subscribed with that notification bell on, because YouTube hates me. As always, thank you guys so much for the continued support. I've been having a really great summer, going all these places, and sharing with you all the things that I find really fun and exciting about this hobby. If you have any great ideas for me, again, let me know down in the comments section below, and stay tuned for more content.